Hello and welcome. This is Kristen from the Online Selling Show, and I have quite the sale I'm hoping to bring you some video from today. This is a sale that really was not on my radar. It is over an hour from my home, and it is not an area that I would ever have thought to come to. And how I came to find it was, first time I came across the post was in one of my Facebook groups that's targeted for vintage Christmas, and they had some very desirable Holt Howard pieces. I will put some video onto this video as I'm editing it and show you quite the packed house that this is. So when I first saw it, it had the Holt Howard, and I thought, yeah, you know, they know what they have. These are quite desirable. It's over an hour from my home. Like, what's the likelihood I could get in, get these, and even have them being offered at a reasonable price? And even if I get them, I don't know, you know, if I could even part with them, truthfully. So I didn't really pay attention until there was a second post that went into a second Facebook group. And this one pertains to the vintage Fisher-Price Little People. And there was somebody posting about this sale. And I mean, they have rows and rows and rows of these houses. Again, I will put some photos in here. And I thought, wow, that's quite something. Again, they must be somebody who knows what they have. Well, it wasn't until yesterday, later in the morning, that I connected that both of these sales were the same estate style company, and I was able to go on and see all of the house. It just hadn't prompted me to look at it, and when I realized it, I thought, oh my Lord, I have got to try and go to this. So I left super early. I'm in a suburb off of Philly. I knew I was going to hit traffic if I didn't leave super early. I hit rainstorms and all to get here. I got here to be fifth in line. I was very excited, and as we spend time here and everything else, you start talking, and lo and behold, one of the most unusual things I have felt is, in my lifetime have experienced, is that one of the women in front of me happens to be the granddaughter of the person who passed away. Miss Blanche, this is her estate, this is her house. Miss Blanche, from what I understand, passed away days before her 94th birthday and was quite the avid shopper. That has basically been her hobby. And very spry, very wonderful woman from what I'm understanding. And there was me questioning her, saying, like, why do you have to be here buying this stuff? Like, I was just kind of a little baffled. And my understanding is her and her family spent quite some time in the months after the holidays passed and the funeral and all, trying to get the house straightened out, and it was basically to the point they had to throw the towel in. There's just been so much here that once they turned it over to the estate sale company, then they weren't allowed to take anything else out of the house. So some of the other items that she still wanted, they had not come across, and that's why she is here to do shopping. I don't know how I feel about that, because to me, I believe in what's meant for you will come your way. I don't want to buy anything that is something that she's here wanting for her memorabilia. So I'm going to pray that, you know, what is meant for me is what I wind up getting. And then about an hour and a half before the sale started, a second cousin of hers showed up. My understanding is Miss Blanche raised 3 grandkids in this house, and I've got 2 of them here now. And again, I just don't want to take anything of her. So please, Miss Blanche, get your grandchildren what they are here and in their hearts and mind want, and just leave some meat on the bone for me to be able to make some reselling. That's all I pray. So my targets are, I want to see with the Fisher-Price Little People, if it appears they may have grouped up quite a bit of the accessories and the figures and priced them as a lot. I'd like to go in and target that first. That all seems to be in a room off to the back and in towards the right. Seems to be where all of that is. That is my first target. And then there is quite a bit of vintage Christmas that is here. And for those goods, I have specific things I want to target that will be secondary to me. So we are a little over 15 minutes away from the start of the sale. I want to get myself there now, get myself in that frame of mind, and I would try to get some better video as we can go. I can tell you there's probably easily 100 people that will be in this sale. I'm hoping they will limit it to maybe 30 of us being able to go in the house at the beginning of this. Fingers crossed. I am starting to go into the sale, and here is the house. And this back room here that I am trying to showcase is all of the Fisher Price. That whole window back is full. Look at this line. The cars are packed. They are as far as you can see on every side street going down from this intersection. It is amazing.
At a time for 5 minutes. Yeah.
See, it's all about getting it on the video.
Oh boy. Really like that idea. Go ahead. I think that's the right.
I feel like getting into the house. I'm traveling through the room where they've set up pretty much the expensive stuff and where they'll be collecting money at these tables. Going through the dining room and going right into this Fisher Price stuff. I am literally having maybe 10 seconds to take in all of this lusciousness to myself. Fisher Price is all along this window, which is where I'm starting to shop, plus in the whole row behind me. I have found there was bins set up with Ziploc bags of assorted accessories and figurines. I am just trying to quickly comb through all of them, shove them in my bag. Unfortunately, the camera will move around some. I apologize, but I am going through literally everything I can see, trying to take in pricing, looking at these buildings because I'm not sure if the buildings are there. They had a whole tub of $1 per figure. I am going through them, trying to pick out the most desirable of them as well. Trying to get back to those bins now quickly because somebody else has come in. That's how fast it happened that I had that room to myself. I'm still combing through now that I've gotten everything I can out of those bins that I see of any value. I'm looking through other bags that they had there on the table that were an assortment of Weeble Wobbles and Fisher Price. Still trying to comb through these figures, trying to basically block off the table so that nobody else can get in front of me. And then I'm trying to also assess what's around me. They had sets still in boxes. I still was not sure, was any of these pieces and stuff around me with accessories in them, or did they bag up all the accessories separate? Here you can see all of these buildings that are set up, just row after row. I'm now going into a box. I'm trying to see a Sesame Street Fisher Price set, if they have the pieces that are inside of that. I'm noticing that there are some that are there. That's the Play School. That is the Holiday Inn one. That one had them in there. I'm trying to get the prices because the prices on some of them were on paper tags on the buildings. Some of them were on the boxes. Here's what I'm trying to get into that Sesame Street one. I cannot get that out of the box. I am struggling like you cannot believe. Looking in this replay, I see there's another bag over there I kind of missed. And so people are really starting to come into this area. I find another bag, I add that to my bag, which is what I'm doing there. I'm looking also to see was how much stuff was under the tables. They had it packed like you can't believe. I turn around and behind me is all the rest of the stuff. I see this bag of what's on this castle. I assumed that the price on the bag meant that the castle and that was them, but here are these huge giant bags. They mark $25. I'm going through them. I missed the paper tag on this that they were selling the building separate. And as you can see, there is tons of different buildings there. I probably did miss the fact that there was other bags of Fisher Price people. And unfortunately, just in this whole craziness, I really didn't have a lot of time to assess. I'm going through these giant bags to see what I can find. Here is more on the floor, as you can see. Tons of these bagged up accessories. I'm assuming the accessories go with the buildings, and there's only so much I can grab. Unfortunately, there was so many bags of these accessories and figures I'm seeing in this replay that I probably could have grabbed up as well. I fixated on this castle, thinking I was getting a good deal of $45 for the figures, including the building. And I don't find out till later that the building was parked separate, and I do not buy that. So here we are again. I'm looking at now a Play School, I think it was, McDonald's set. That was one that I know could be very desirable. Again, trying to find pricing. Some of the pricing was not the easiest to see. Some of it was very easy with those paper tags. Lots and lots of buildings. Here's one that's $25 for this garage. That, again, would be a good price if I thought I was getting all the pieces, but I could only grab so much. I literally had very few feet around me of space. People were packed in this room. You'll start seeing, here's this lady. Over here on this table is more Fisher Price, but it's other types of stuff. I'm going to slow this down. There was something called Littles in here, brand new on their marquee still. I am not familiar with this brand. I will see if I can find some comps and throw them in here if you're familiar with that. I do know that there was a woman here from some of my other sales that collects dolls. She had a ton of dollhouse stuff that she had found in here that I never even seen in any of the photos. Tons here is all these Monopoly games. Huge wall of nothing but board games going through here. I'm trying to get around the end of that one shelving. You can see I literally have to just keep excuse me on everything. Here's a woman that has more of the Fisher Price accessories in her hand, as you can see. There was so much I just could not grab. Here's more in there I probably should have been grabbing. Just did not take notice. I am trying to get out of this room now. And when I come around the side of this, I am really going to slow this down. Here is the Harold Gale piece that is probably, I don't know, I'm going to see if I can throw a comp up. It is 2 of the Snow Babies teeter-tottering on a snowball. She got a great display piece there. I'm trying to walk with her, or next to her really, through the kitchen. I'm trying to get out front to see if there's a whole table to put this castle down. This is her here in front of me. And I'm trying to get past her to find out if there is a holding area, and there was not. This area is packed. This is, again, that front room I came through where they are taking the money. I go in to put my stuff down, and while I'm in there, I see this guy. He is going in and out of a locked case, and the woman he is helping, I am going to slow down. She is helping herself to purchasing some additional Howard pieces. I will see if I can throw those comps up. There is Roosevelt and Sherlock from the Fisher Price he's got in there. There is some Lefton pieces in there that I would have loved to have. I will throw some comps up, but his prices were not cheap. He starts showing me a broken piece of Holt Howard that is a very desirable piece. And I'm now going to leave because I just want to get into that Christmas room. I was able to get rid of the castle, but I still have a giant packed bag of goods. I'm now going into the Christmas room, and this room is like, wow. It is stuffed everywhere. When I get in here, I am looking around for this flat-backed blow mold Santa that was absolutely adorable. I want to find out that the woman who was first got it. Here I start taking off the wall this Bucilla felted applique wall hanging. That there I picked up for $9. I will put up comps for that. I see a bunch of other stuff like Hallmark ornaments. I'm really not interested. I am trying to look around to see if she has any of the Hallmark Jingle Pals. I'm not seeing that. Lots of vintage plus new mixed in. That room that wall right there had a lot of different ceramics, or smalls as they call it. I am looking around for the flatback Santa. Don't see it. Start focusing in. There were some vintage candle holders and things that I knew would sell for a decent amount. I am not finding them. I wound up finding out, like I said, the first woman in the show that was in the door really cherry-picked this room over, but I was still finding a lot of good things in this room. Here, I'm starting to look under the tables as well. There was a table down the center, and then it was packed all along the 4 sides of the room. I am starting to go on. There you will see like a yarn wreath. There was a sewn, like quilted wreath there on the table. There is some nativities in here. I'm not really finding anything greatly priced that was something that I would see as a good thing. One thing I do find over here is a very delicate tree topper that is an angel. I'm trying to figure out how to get her. She is, I don't even know where, plugged in. I have this in my hand that I have to put down. And I'm trying to figure out where this other angel where it plugs in. When I find this store display, these, I don't know where they came from. There were some big paper mache snowmen. They were beautiful. There was this one that was kind of like flying through the sky. I'll come across a few more of them underneath the table. They did want a little bit of money for them, more than I wanted to pay, and I had nowhere to put them. But there is stuff everywhere that you can imagine. I am also looking now just to see what else is under there as far as other boxes. There is this Snoopy and this Charlie Brown. When I start looking at this table, there is a lot of just miscellaneous different pieces of stuff. Then I notice that there is, again, some more animated pieces, and there are some this. This is a Busilla store display. This is a kit that you would make. I happen to know a lot about these, and I am amazed that she has the store display. This one bought a lot of unusual pieces that, again, were maybe store displays or things you wouldn't have thought about. That store display, I will tell you, I've already sold, and I got $60 for it. It was $10. I'm here looking right now for other items that may be from this Busilla kits, anything handmade. There was a few in the photos, but I know that the woman in front of me was coming in to look for those. This table had a lot of the ceramic trees and things. I didn't really want to get anything that big. I was looking at some of these figures again just to see if I had missed anything. I started to go back down this way because I knew there was stuff down there I had missed, and I wanted to get back around. I am still digging around, trying to figure out where I see that there are these Joseph Original mice on this table. They have them bagged up for like $4. I thought, you know what, let me see what else is here, why I'm here. And as I'm digging through, this other lady is picking up a lot of this Snoopy and Charlie Brown stuff. I get into a little bit of conversation with her. She was very nice, but I'm still digging around with what's on the table. I'm finding a lot of other little smaller figures in here that are more of this Joseph Originals. So as I'm conversing with her, I'm trying to kind of get a vibe for what it is she's picking up. There's some Disney stuff in there as well, but I can tell you, it's only so much I could take in. There was no time to think you were going to look anything up. There is probably so much that I have missed. I already see in doing the voiceover all the Fisher-Price stuff I missed. God only knows how much I missed in this Christmas room. And right now, like I said, I am just digging through these bagged up minifigures they put on the table. Some of them just really aren't anything, but as you can see, here's more of the mice. I'm just going to take a chance and group them up because, like I said, there was about $4 or $5 a bag. There was probably anywhere from 2 to 4 of them in there. Here's more of the stuff just showing on the table. This woman had no specific niche of what she collected. She had modern as well as vintage. It was ludicrous. Here is a store display I picked up, at least I think it is. Looks like some Charlie Brown ornaments that are on like a snowbank that they kind of fit in on. I'm trying to figure out if everything is in there. They wanted $4 for that. Time will tell when I can dig that up and list that as to if everything is really there and if it was a store display. Lots of different Hallmark ornaments, things like that in there. I'm waiting to get around her because I've kind of picked over this area. You can see there's some village houses and stuff. I'm just not very knowledgeable about them. I'm trying to figure out my strategy because there really is just people everywhere you turn in this room. I'm still trying to not waste my time while I'm there and looking at what's still there. But honestly, there's just so much. I was so tired. So I'm finally starting to get around this lady. And if you'll see on the table, there was a Tweety bird tree topper there with a halo. I did look that up. I was thinking about picking that up, but they only sell for like $12. So I kind of finally do get past this woman. And I'm starting to look now on this wall, which was originally where I came in. And I'm just looking back, making sure I didn't miss anything in the Snoopy section. I did look up a few other items as I was going past. There's, like I said, just so much. I'm seeing, even in this replay, some ornaments and things that maybe would have been desirable. But I can only know so much as far as being an expert on. And I'm picking up an assortment of some of these different ornaments, and some of the prices were just a little too high. There is another store display. He was just so adorable. Looks like he should have had something in his hand. And I'm looking back under the table. Just trying to make sure from a different perspective I'm not missing anything. Now I'm going down this wall here. This does have a table, or underneath the table is just piled with a bunch of stuff. I am really surprised. I was looking to see if she had the Jingle Pals from Hallmark because she had so much Hallmark, and there was some CVS plush that can be very desirable that I've sold in the past. I'm digging through this tub looking to see what she may have in there. There probably was some plush in here that was desirable. I know she had some Grinch in there. She had a couple Charlie Browns. There was one that was the Seven Dwarves. But honestly, there was a couple Santas, I think, from American Greetings. I just really was not feeling the vibe of plush. I had so much shoved in my bag already. I was trying to be selective, get the biggest bang for my buck. Don't find any of those. I'm still looking at each one. Most of them had tags, but she just really was all over the place with her collections. And I was starting to notice now how much was under these tables. So I pushed that back. There will be coming up on the table over here, these churches. Right there is one. She had two of them. You probably could sell those for 40 or 50. I'm still digging around under here to see if I'm missing anything. Those two churches there would sell. I pick up this. It is a styrofoam fireplace. People will use that in their displays for Christmas. I could not find a price until I see they wrote it in the styrofoam on the top of $10. I don't know if it's them or somebody else. Decided to leave that behind. Here is so many of these ornaments that are still boxed. There were so many of those candles that you're seeing there on the table that were brand new. Those battery operated window candles. There's that cute snowman again. I'm, like I said, still trying to just go down row by row, making sure I am really now doing a thorough job of looking. More of these just miscellaneous things that I don't recognize. I mean, there's some stuff like that Lennox there. Could be desirable, but I don't know how much. Like I said, those churches would probably be 40 to 50. I'm looking and she has some vintage Christmas cards there, but they're they're not the kind of graphics that people are really looking for. Turn around, that's the table that had all the vintage Christmas trees on it. That got hit very heavy very early on. I know the owner's granddaughter wanted at least one of the ones on there. I'm looking under here to see with garlands and lights and stuff like that what may be here. There's a Mr. Christmas advent calendar. It could be, but I'm still trying to stay on the smaller side. Some stockings are in here. I was looking to see if she had any of those Busilla stockings, but these seemed very generic. There was one there that I did go back and look at that has the Noel on it, and it was just very crudely made. It wasn't stitched very well. It was probably more like somebody that just glued it on, and I don't know that I can say what the value of those would be, so I left that behind. There's those churches again. I'm looking down the rest of this row. Some of the things that did catch my eye are there is a Waterford crystal ornament. I was looking for that. It was a 1997 dated ornament. Again, I don't know a whole lot about that. The price wasn't too bad, being that it was Waterford crystal, but they're kind of hit or miss in my opinion. I don't have a lot of knowledge on them. I'm looking at what else is on the shelf to see if there's more Waterford crystal. Again, this woman was very all over the board. Some of the stuff she got very heavily invested in, and then some of it was just, one or two of. So I kind of always had to stop and realize, or kind of assess, was this a heavy collection for her, or was this just her dabbling in it? This caught my attention. It's kind of an animated Rudolph. It looks to be more modern. Really, again, I'm trying to stay small. My bag is full at this point. This Santa I would have loved to have for my personal collection. He is big, but again, I don't want to take anything big home. There's those wreaths again. I'm starting to look under the table. There is a flat back nativity blow mold under there. I was really tempted to get, but again, I didn't have a lot of room. You get a little peek of it there. There is a lot of the nativities and stuff again. There is some candles here that catch my eye on the end of this table. Probably would have loved to have them for my personal collection, but just not in the right place at the right time. I'm trying to get past this woman Trying to get past this woman. Go back and look at what was in this corner. This is the corner where all the really desirable stuff was in the pictures in the post. There is a Santa and reindeer blow mold. That really caught my attention, but they wanted, I think, like $50 for it. I just didn't have the space or the time to really try to invest in that right now. I'm going through, looking through piece by piece by piece. Right there in the center is a Holt Howard candlestick. I don't even go for it at first. I don't know what I was thinking. I do eventually pick it up, and there we go. Then I realized, like, oh, Kristen, that is desirable if you can get that with its mate, and this is missing some paint. But I'm looking around because some of these things caught my attention in the photo. I wasn't able to necessarily identify them. There's a few things that are like this that I'm assessing. Is it worth? No. The woman had really hit this section heavy. There was some very desirable pieces, but my understanding was she came in here and just snapped them all up first. This piece is kind of cute. There's something similar to that could be Holt Howard. I'm still just really going through piece by piece. There's some vintage stockings there that are kind of nice. But I don't know enough. Do I chance it? I don't think so. I'm looking in here to see what else. She had some tree toppers, like that tinsel star topper back there in the corner. She had some in here too, like that Santa cookie jar. The paint job, that is a handmade piece. If you get one that somebody painted up really nice, people can be desirable. They can probably sell for about $100. I'll try to put a comp up on there. I'm looking at this caught my eye with the Santa on the roof. Again, just trying to assess what is in here that may still be of some value. And trying to stay on the small side because my bag, I can't stress to you, is full at this point. I have more bags inside, but unfortunately I buried them all when I put the Fisher Price people on there, and trying to unbury them has not been easy. They had a lot of beautiful boxes of vintage ornaments under here. They were starting from 20 to 25 and going up to 50. So there was nothing in there I knew I could resell easily. Here I'm picking up, like I said, some other pieces that caught my attention in the post. Just trying to assess if anything is going to be worth reselling. Doing that last final inspection. And some of the stuff really was just kind of not in pristine condition. Still going through, there's some boxes of tinsel there. I don't know, none of it have any really cool graphics on it though. What else was in this area? I'm trying to remember now. There was just so much. Now on these racks are all these individual hanging ornaments. Most of them, when I start looking, are just very generic. There's nothing really discernible like that I would feel that they were going to be selling individually on their own for. A lot of them didn't even have pricing. And I was ready to just throw in the towel when my eye catches this angel right here. It is a DeCarlini or something, I believe is the name. It is an Italian made, and they are very desirable. I know there is some in my personal collection that I wanted. She is $15. I don't know if I tried to stop and take a look for her, and I wasn't able to get a total value on her, but I figure I'll keep it for myself if not. I'm now looking through to see maybe I missed some other stuff in here that was desirable. Maybe there was more of this kind of ornament, and truthfully, there really wasn't. I went through all of them. I'm very familiar with a lot of these brands on the wholesale market, and I'm very good at being able to assess not just brand, but desirability based on the subject matter. And a lot of these just were not of any markability that I could cross-post for different collections or reasons. I'm usually able at Good to put things together in bundles, and not having prices and things like that, I knew there was so much more available that I had to just keep it moving. But you can see there's a lot here of, they were cute, a lot of new with tags. There was some Elf on the Shelf in there. There was definitely every kind of design. I mean, there's snowman. This one I was looking at, this is older. I think they wanted $6 for that. So some of them were marked. Here I'm going back down again. This is where I was kind of stuck for a while. I'm just looking again to see, was there more of any of this Bucilla in there? Is there anything I may have missed? And I'm starting to make my way out of this room, having done my final review now. So I'm just trying to get myself past another person here. Like I said, these rooms were starting to clear out a little bit, but they were starting to get packed because I didn't know it at this point. They had probably let in over 100 people to this house. So now I am leaving. I am heading out to the garage area. So I have to take a look real fast just to make sure I'm not damaging this angel. And then I'm going to start my way out to the garage. And right next to the garage, you will see that there is the staircase. I finally take notice that goes down to the basement, which I never got to. There was just so much that was down there. So now coming out to the garage, where I'm noticing this is still packed as well. But this is where they had a lot of the Halloween and the other holiday decor throughout the year. She didn't have as much of this. Most of this seemed to be modern. There was some die cuts for Halloween that were vintage I was looking for. I was hoping for maybe some of those like lawn blow up type things, and don't really see any of that. I'm trying to get around in here. There's a few other Christmas items that are mixed in here, some more fall. But most of the stuff that they put out here was items that were more modern things. They were larger pieces if they were Christmas. And I just, like I said, was trying to not take a whole lot of stuff home. And as I'm going through this area, I do find this woman was the woman who was #1 for the show. I had mentioned, I already heard at this point that she came in and cleaned out that vintage room. And being that I love vintage Christmas, I will talk to other people. And I'm still trying to look around here, make sure I'm not missing anything. And I do get to make eye contact with her in a minute. And her and I had a great discussion. Like I said, here's a lot of these bigger pieces, more modern if you look as I'm taking it around. But as I get down, I'm trying to sit down and just really reassess what I bought. I was sitting at this point trying to kind of look at what I had bought, and I wasn't quite sure if that was the woman that was #1, because she had a Phillies jacket on when we were waiting, a really attractive coat. She was getting a lot of compliments. And I was trying to assess if that was her, and I was trying to guess, like, was there anything I wanted to put back? And realized I just got to keep moving. There was more things in here, like if you look around, there is some smaller stuff I'm starting to realize now. Some of these, like, snow globes, animated pieces, some of these, like, plush type of ones here. Nothing vintage. And when I get down to this corner, and I'm finding where these bigger pieces, her and I do kind of get tripped up in the same section. And I asked her, I said, are you getting all that vintage Christmas stuff? So she starts showing me some of the stuff, just vaguely, that she got. I did find out she got that flatback Santa that I wanted that was in the post. Let's see if I can put it up here. She said they asked $45 for it. I was so jealous. I told her, I said, that was a fabulous piece. She's showing me some of the other things that she got from this room. There was a really cute bunny piece. Let me see. Hopefully it'll show up here. And we were just having some nice conversation. She is not, here's the bunny that she had picked up that was really cute. But I don't know how much I'll get to see her again. But it's always nice to make some contacts at these places, learn a little bit more of what she knows about the estate sale people. And I'm still kind of trying to take in all these different holidays. But as you can see, these are bigger pieces that you would put, I don't know if you'd want to put them on a porch, but maybe next to some doorways or some basic centerpieces of stuff. They were just large pieces in here. There's a dog with a plate in its mouth that you could use for serving. So I'm really finding, there's one of those butlers. I'm not really going to get much in here. Her and I, like I said, are just having a nice conversation about what we found when we were in here. She's the one who confirmed about the vintage trees, that the granddaughter was able to get the trees that she wanted, which made me very happy. Here's more of the Easter. I'm starting to look through and assess these Easter pieces. as I'm looking, and I pick up this. This was a stained glass sun catcher, and it just did not, it looked very mass produced, so I decided to not take that. And I'm making my way. She picks up that giant carrot there. We were laughing over that. That thing is enormous. I'm looking, these were hand painted pieces. She's looking to see like where this tree is supposed to go. There just seemed like not as much in these other holidays of consideration put into her purchases for this. It was just really kind of weird. Um, Over here was just some mismatched like pieces from McDonald's Happy Meals. She's looking at some eggs, but like I said, these other holidays, like this piece here, seem like it should be something of value. I'm looking on the back. I'm very familiar with all the ways of the SKUs from all the other brands. I can't even assess this piece and who it is at this point in time. Um, Again, I'm looking for brand names, so I know if I go to relist it, what I can get it for. It looks like it has some damage. But this was basically her Easter, was right here. After looking at having over a room full of Christmas, that struck me as strange. There's those McDonald pieces that they've grouped up. They did have a bunch of like VHS tapes on the table over there. And basically I've assessed this room now. There's nothing in here. I'm kind of making my way out, telling her, I'm happy that she was able to get what she could get. And then we are going to separate, and I'm now going to make my way towards the front. I'm debating if I actually want to leave at this point, because I don't know how much other stuff I really want to lug, because if the thing was, if you left, you had to get to the end of the line to come back in. You could not just pay to unload the stuff in your hands and then come back in. Like, you had to basically hold everything that you wanted to purchase, and if you left, you weren't allowed back in until after. So I am making my way out and really starting to try and reassess what it is I want to do. I'm looking around. There's puzzles that caught my eye that was off to the right, but these pieces are just so large, and I'm really kind of debating at this point, was there more that I really want to do? So I am now leaving and heading out towards the front foyer. I decided to forego the basement. I'm heading out. I actually briefly wait in line for a bit. And when I start to go towards the front to get in line, I could not believe how many people were still out there waiting. I do opt instead to go upstairs. I realized that there was still a bunch of Anna Lee I had not seen. She had a bunch of these beautiful embroidery, needlework pictures on the wall. I had considered some of those. I'm heading upstairs because, like I said, I know that Anna Lee is somewhere. I'm not really sure exactly, and I thought I'd rather go upstairs right now because the basement just seemed very... I just wasn't comfortable going down all those stairs. Here you can see they've even got stuff set up in the hallway. This was some Star Trek pieces here. I have not looked in there, but here's the whole linen closet used for collections of books. Off to the right is a bedroom that is nothing but clothes. This woman has the whole room to herself. I told her, wow, like, what a nice feeling that you could just go through all that yourself. Some more of those pictures. Here's a room to the left. It's another bedroom just piled up with books. You can see there's only 2 people in there doing any kind of shopping. They were pretty well able to just take their time. Heading down this room, or down the hallway to what was the master room. More of these beautiful needlework paintings or pictures, whatever you want to say. In here is just piles of different stuff. There seems to be like a room behind the room here. Off to the right is where I start trying to assess like what in the world is in this room. There are 2 women over there. They are going through a bunch of Beanie Babies. This seems to be more of the Thai Beanie Baby stuff. I was just trying to see if there was any of those like CVS toys in there. There is just a hodgepodge of stuff. In the closet is a bunch of snow globes and some more of this like Mr. Christmas kind of stuff. There was a bunch of electronics on the other side of the room. If you see, there were some of those buyer's choice. There's all the Beanie Babies. The grandson said that she used to pick him up from school and make him and his friends go in and buy the Beanie Babies with her because you could only buy so many when they first came out. And that was one of his like just memories of her. I start seeing some Anna Lee here, and I'm like, oh, let's go back here and see. Well, you cannot believe this room has already been picked over, if you can imagine. These large Anna Lees were $40. I don't really recollect how they priced some of the smaller. Here there is a smaller, it was a Santa sleigh with reindeer, and they were all kind of connected with this ribbon. They had them, according to the really tiny ones, set up as snowmen and elves, and look at that one there, and that coming out of the chimney. He was one I tried to find, could not find. They were marked, like I said, $40. I thought that was pretty reasonable. Some of them still had tags. These ones I don't recollect. I just know I am not an expert at anything to do with Anna Lee. Here is all the other holiday collections that she had. This woman, like I said, had collections of collections. It was insane. I start looking at these ones down here. They even had some that were like boxed with scenes. I'm also noticing, like I said, these other holidays, trying to see. I tried to even do research ahead of time to come in here, and honestly, there is just so much to learn about this one kind of collection that it would take me a lot longer than just being able to go in this room and start figuring it out. I'm trying to see if there's other maybe ones that I'd like to have. There was one that was a scarecrow that I had sold previously, and I looked at his price. I was like, no, I put him back. Here again, I'm just kind of doing a glance over. There was ones that I did know were desirable. They were like his and her ones, and I'm looking to see if I missed them. I'm going back through again because I'm trying to remember from my here's one, but she's not quite exactly the one I remember that was desirable. And like I said, if you had the matching set of him and her, I know those were going for a pretty decent amount. But I'm still trying to remember. I don't want to get anything big. So I'm walking down here when this catches my eye. I'm thinking that this piece may be a store display that I pick up. And when I opened it up, I think it really was more of a collector piece. It does have a price tag on it. There was another one next to it. That first one was Santa on a rooftop. This one is like a couple in a sleigh ride. Again, that had a price tag still on it. So I'm realizing that I don't really know anything about what I'm even thinking about looking at in here. And I'm just kind of looking at it more for just amazement, really. And I'm going to just start heading out because it's just wasting my time. I know I'm not buying anything. There's one with an apple on it even. It's just like, wow. So now I am going to start heading out and going downstairs to pay for my goods. I was just amazed at how much was there. Even upon leaving and heading downstairs, I am heading out when I noticed the bathroom was even being used. This had a bunch of bells in it and snow globes all set up. Like I said, just amazing to me how much stuff. I am now going to head out. I am getting ready to leave this sale, and that is the line still out there. Doesn't look different than when we went in, does it? Hope you enjoyed the video. That was my shopping venture. I did get quite a few of the Fisher-Price Little People sets in the bags there. I don't think I'm going to do a what did I buy video and why did I buy it, because honestly, most of it was that. I did pick up something like this that was a music box because it has this 4-digit number, and that's what a lot of the vintage Japan-made stuff had. For $4, I'm going to chance that one. I did buy quite a few of these mice. Again, here we are, Kristen with the mice. These are Joseph, and that's spelled Joseph, originals. And I saw people were lotting them up and getting from $50 to $100 for them. I paid maybe $12 for 3 different bags of them, and I have probably about 10 in the bags. I did pick up this piece that was from Holt Howard. He is a candle holder. And I think the biggest flaw for him is that he was what was known as cold glazed with the red, and that does tend to flake off. So you can see it's down in there, but other than that, I have like a fleck on his arm. There's not really much of it left. I don't know if they just, because it was the one, didn't price it high. I am hoping to get at least 30 for him. I know if I had the whole set, they could go for probably in the $150 range, I would say. One of the other items I bought which is in my wheelhouse. I bought 2 different things that are this felt applique. This is a company called Busilla. I've made these kind of things in the past. These will sell probably for at least $50 for this one. I'm gonna try and see a comp on that. There was some older like tree skirts and stuff, but I unfortunately missed that. Oh, I did buy, because I have said before, if you see any of the garlands in bulk to pick up, I got this huge bag for $3. I can probably break this down and sell this for about maybe $40 to $50 when I break them out, depending on how many strands are in here. But most of it was the Fisher Price. That was what I indicated I was going for from the beginning. Just looking in here, I did get this. She did have quite a few store displays. I was trying to show the snowmen that were paper mache. Those were definitely used in some kind of store display. They were adorable. I would have loved to have them. I just don't have a place for them. I did see this sitting there. It is some kind of Snoopy themed ornaments. I'm gonna guess that they may be from Hallmark. I'm not really sure. But there seems to be like a display that they stand in with him in the tree. But they are definitely ornaments. They have hangers on them for hanging on a tree. So this was $4. I don't know if that was a store display. But that was pretty much it. I spent more than I probably wanted to. There was the tree topper that was very delicate. I have that in a bag in the back. But you just kind of have to roll with it for some of this stuff, because the items that are like this, that are the Joseph, I know the company, but I don't know these pieces. They had so many different ones. You can't always kind of keep up on all of it. I was a little disappointed. I thought this was $45 and included the castle, and when I got up there, it did not. So truthfully, I'm a little disappointed in some of it. Some of it was really, really good pricing. So I'm gonna hope it all just kind of levels out, and I do believe I'm gonna be able to make some good money out of this. Obviously we just all hope we would make more, but it was nice. I had a nice day. I'm going to head home now and get myself on the road. So I hope you enjoyed seeing what I had. I appreciate you watching. Would love a thumbs up if you got any good enjoyment out of watching this. Please leave any comments down below. I am sure I missed a ton in this house, a ton. The Anna Lee was like I mean, you just could not go in the right direction. It was funny, I said I was 5th, and the first person in line went for the vintage Christmas, which is the direction I did not go in. She apparently did get the whole Howard pieces. Surprisingly, she didn't buy the dish, which was there. But anyway, she got a lot of the vintage Christmas that I probably would have wanted for myself anyway. The second person in line, he indicated he was going for jewelry. He told us that kind of right before we went in. The third lady was the one who was the granddaughter. I knew she was going for the vintage trees. She had already shared that. The woman that was with her that's her friend, her childhood friend, she wanted a picture that was some kind of needlework one, which was not on my radar. And then me, and then the guy behind me was a little disappointed because he had come an hour away and he wanted the tree that she was getting, that was the ceramic tree. But how do you get upset about that? So I very happy with what I got. I'm gonna head home and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.